welcome to the Northwest. I always said, because I used to live in Manchester, and I never understood it when people said it always rains. I always said, well, it always rains everywhere in England, but yeah, when I moved down south I realised that you can go weeks without it actually raining, whereas here you can barely even go days. As you can see, it's pissing it down. We're at Oulton Park today for another track day. I bought some new rear tyres. As some of you may have seen the last video, it was a bit slippy on the rear tyres. I'll drop in some of that footage now. So I've got some new rear tyres. They're the same Nankang NS2Rs, just obviously brand new. I think the old ones were just, I mean, they were about 5 years old, so I guess maybe they've done their bit. They hadn't actually, they still had plenty of tread left on them, but I think they'd sort of glazed over a bit. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. The problem is that, as you can see, it's pissing it down. So I don't think I'm going to be able to really test the tyres today, but we'll see, we'll see. I've just done the sighting laps and it was torrential during the sighting laps, so it's actually died down a little bit now. As you can see, I'm actually stood outside and braving it. But yeah, it's going to be a interesting day. I have done Oulton Park in the wet, in the Supra before. I did a track day October last year and it was raining for the first half of the day and then dried up for the second half. So I think today is a lot more wet, to be honest. So I don't know, it's going to be interesting. I'll just take it slow. I don't want to bin off the car. Hopefully it'll dry up during the second half of the day. Hopefully. I'm just going to do a little post report on this GoPro here whilst pissing it down still outside. Yeah, I mean, it's wet. It is what it is. I can't really put the power down anywhere. It wants to wash wide, and there was a moment where coming down into the chicane down the hill, I locked up the brakes as well. So there's a lot of things to contend with. Just taking it nice and slow, trying to work out the boundaries of where we are. Got a little bit sideways out of the chicane as well at one point, just to play around a bit. It's going to take a little bit of drying before this car can really shine. But I mean, it's fun, isn't it? It's fun. As long as I'm not wiping it out, it's fun. We're on a red flag at the moment, so I'm not actually sure who's gone off. I can see all our cars here, so that's good. Okay, so this is Phil's new car, a lovely race prepped Porsche Boxster, and I'm going to try and get in the Porsche Boxster. It's a little bit of a tight squeeze, and I've got to try not to kick off the indicator. Stop! Oh my god! Oh, hold on. Oh, I need the steering wheel. Actually quite well. What, you said this goes on? Oh, you know what, I'm not going to put that on.
I don't know if get on or off.
I'll pretend.
Right, now get out.
Now get out.
Plan how I'm going to do this.
Quite flexible, I think. Should start doing some yoga. The sun made it out, finally. We are probably halfway through the day, or spot on halfway through the day, because we just stopped for lunch. The track is now live again. I only got a chance to do, I think, 2 runs before lunch. With a combination of it being soaking wet, there was a few red flags. There was 3 red flags before lunch, which is actually exactly what me and Matt had guessed there would be. And then in addition to that, there was fluid on the track as well, so we were waiting a good while for that to get cleared up, about 45 minutes. It's been yeah, interesting. As I've said on the footage, it's very slippy. The first go was tough. A real learning curve in the wet. I've done wet before, but not quite as bad as this. My second run was better. It was a bit of a rocky start because obviously the track had been closed for the fluid spill, and also the weather was so bad. The track had actually got really busy because it had only just reopened, so it was hard trying to work your way through the traffic, and you slowing down because there were slow cars and then people were overtaking and stuff, so I couldn't get any momentum going. After about 3 laps that cleared up. I got a good bit of momentum going and felt a bit more comfortable. It's the braking zones that are the scary bit, because you just don't want to lock up really going into those corners, especially into the chicane. That second chicane coming downhill, I've locked up a couple of times so far there, and it's a little bit scary. Anyway, as you can see, the sun's come out, so hopefully this will last a little bit and the track has a chance to dry. There's been no action on the track obviously because it's been closed for lunch, so it's probably still going to be very wet and there'll be a lot of standing water around. But once that dries out, hopefully if the rain stays away, then we'll be able to get a couple of maybe even dry laps in by the end of the day. Let's see. Just before we do go out, I did want to point out these tyres that I'm running. So I've shown these a couple of times in previous videos. These are Nankang NS2Rs. So they are basically cut slicks. To be road legal, you have to have a certain rating, and they rate these tyres in the wet. It's actually quite well rated in the wet. It's B, obviously A being the best, but that doesn't quite mean the same for a track day. So yeah, I'm struggling and sliding around. I think something like a Pilot Sport 4S or something would be a lot better in this weather, and obviously rain sports, but they don't make 4Ss in 18-inch. I think it's 19 and above. And yeah, I just can't face having rain sports for these kind of days. I'd obviously hope for a dry day. This is actually the first proper wet day that I've had on track. I've had a wet morning at Oulton before, as I said before, but this is the first properly wet day. So just taking it steady is going to be the main thing of the day. Make sure that I don't spin out, because that would be quite embarrassing and could be costly.
there we go, day is done. It's been a bit of a tough one, as I've alluded to in some of these previous video links. Yeah, weather was not good at all, weather was not good. It finally dried up right at the very end, so I just had a long session then. I was out for probably maybe nearly 30 minutes, I think. The brakes are absolutely phenomenal. They didn't even try and fade. They were just putting up with all the abuse. I went round, I was going to go down for a cool down lap and then come in the pits. And then I saw Matt, Jimmy and Seb's TT, and then the Porsche as well, the 911, so I thought, oh, maybe I'll have a little play with them and see how long I've got left on the brakes, and they just kept going and going and going, which was great. Finally, there's some dry. I mean, the track is basically dry at this point, which is fantastic, so I could put the power down. It's absolute night and day difference. I mean, I've said this before, those Nankangs are just no good in the wet, and I was expecting that that was going to be the case, but they make such a difference in the dry that it's just worth the pain, to be honest. So yeah, I'm going to stick with them, I think. I can't really complain too much about the car's performance. It was always, I think in any car, it was going to be a struggle in those conditions. It was interesting to try and see how I could deal with the car and the car itself could deal with the rain. I mean, the short answer is not very well, but I gave it a good go, and yeah, had a little play as well, getting a bit sideways at moments, so very enjoyable. Quite interested to know how the lap times stack up in comparison to when I was here in October last year. Obviously the car has changed a little bit since then. I've got a little bit more power out of it, but I've also got fresher tyres, and the track was a bit damp this time round. It wasn't quite as damp back in October, I don't think, if I remember correctly. So I'll put the lap times below, just out of interest. I'll also put the ones from the Civic as well. I think last time the Civic and the Supra were quite close. I think it was about a second in between it, so interested to know how today's lap times stack up in comparison to those. I felt like I was going quite quick, but yeah, I don't know, the lap times below will tell you that. But anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you want to subscribe. If you don't, then don't bother, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.